kind of got off topic. Traveling to New Zealand.
Hobbitland?
No, middle.
Hobbiton?
Yeah.
Hobbit?
Hobbiton or the Shire, where the Bag Ends live. Hi, mates. You having a good time on the plane today? I said, yeah, it's great. You know, we're going to be here for 14 hours. I'm excited. He's like, oh, that's great, mate. Well, we're going to get you your meals out. Is it all right if we break the seals before we bring them? Yeah, that sounds good. All right, well, I'll bring your meals to you. All of a sudden, he brings the meals. He goes, you guys, this Jordan and Casey, right? Harbertson, 442 and 443? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so you ordered the kosher meals, right? Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to understand. If I'm looking at you, I understand you guys like there. And
what do you say?
Rural? Did I say it wrong?
Like rural?
Another Jordanism. Rural? Kind of like rural. What did I say last time? Was it Louisville? Yeah. Was that? Bro, like, did you not look left? And I'm like, look left? What do you mean? Here's the thing. We're brothers. We had a moment where we're sitting at camp, and our poor brother-in-law, he's sitting there in camp with us, and Casey and I just start yelling at each other, and Casey's telling me what's wrong with me, and I'm telling him what's wrong with him, and it comes down to, he's like, well, dude, I keep giving you these elk, and you keep screwing it up, you know, and on the draw, and maybe...
All right,
like,
Jordan.
And he came back, and he's like, dude, nice job, bro. That's awesome. Like, you finally stopped sucking at bow hunting. I'm so happy for you. Finally, there was hope in the air with that carbon, and that hope actually killed an animal, right? Yeah. Make sure you buy the Gritty Bowmen t-shirt.
On this episode of Gritty Bowmen, we hang out with Casey and Jordan Harbertson of Mountain Ops in the hotel after midnight at the Total Archery Challenge in Utah. This is just a fun podcast among good friends. Mostly, we talk about Casey and Jordan's recent trip to New Zealand, where they hunted Tahr and Red Stag. It's good stuff. Makes me want to take a trip to Middle Earth someday soon for my own epic adventure.
We're going to go deep on Gritty today.
Super.
We're going to get deep into Jordan's mind. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Bowmen podcast. We are in Snowbird, Utah. My brother and I climbed in the car at 4 a.m. this morning and made the trek here. And we are in a hotel with our good friends, Casey and Jordan Harbertson of Mountain Ops.
We're here, and we're doing it all again in a hotel.
I know. Seems
like the only time we can get together to do these things is if we're all sleeping together in a hotel. It's like, hey, Brian, you want to share a hotel? Yeah. You want to do a podcast too? Sweet. Let's do it.
Not?
It's efficient use of our resources and our time.
Absolutely.
It really is.
Yeah, we're all about efficiency. Efficiency is a good thing. And obviously the way that we're sitting is also a good thing. This here is a way that really relaxes the soul, allows you to get a little bit more flexible, maybe causes some connection with the body and the soul so you get more energy.
And some tramping.
Yeah.
No. Have you drank some Yeti? Because you seem like you're living up here right now.
Believe it or not.
Or is that just Jordan all the time?
Believe it or not, I have not drinking any Yeti. And primarily because it's 12:28 at night. I do want to sleep. I'm excited for this podcast, but I do want to sleep tonight. I don't recommend taking Yeti after, I don't know, like 10 o'clock. So I'm tonight, believe it or not, even though this is Mountain Ops, I am having water tonight. Only because Casey gave his only enduro stick to Brian, who has already devoured all of it. Because Brian was like this. This is like, if I'm going to be Brian, this is Brian. So I got something I want to show you guys. I'm like, Brian, you there? He's like, what? Yeah, let me show you guys this. And so he plays this video, and the whole time he was just like.
Dude, I'm hurting. I'm not going to lie.
Dude, you had a long trek. You had a long travel. I texted you today, and I said, how's the traveling? And you responded, it's awesome. Oh, it's awesome. Traveling sucks. Nobody likes it.
I tell myself that, and then it feels better. No, I actually do like traveling, but, I like sleep a lot, and I haven't had much of that in the last few weeks.
You do know it is an hour and a half.
Dude, we lost the light. What happened?
Already losing lights? No. It's the one over there in the middle.
And we got Brent, my brother, on the mic. B-Rent over here.
The light one's died.
Dude, lights out, guys.
Brent behind the camera.
12:30 on the dot. 2-minute podcast. That's it. Thanks, everybody.
So we're just going to hang out.
which is how we like to do it.
Yeah, we're just kind of see where this Mountain Ops thing goes tonight. Yep. Hopefully people have a good time listening to this podcast, but I have no idea what it's going to be about exactly. Other than I want to pick your brains about New Zealand, because you guys went on an epic hunt in New Zealand, and I want to talk to you guys about that. I also want to talk to you about how it worked, kind of what led to it, some behind the scenes, how cool it was, how cool it wasn't, what you liked, what you didn't like about it. One of the things being as gritty as I tried to be, the high fence thing is, it's a stumbling block, right? It's like, right. And you got a lot of people out there, a lot of guys that are out there that are like, why did you do that? Why didn't you go public land, or why didn't you do something else, right? And so I want to ask you guys about that. And Casey and I were talking about this before we got here tonight, and he was talking about some blowback, not much, but where people are kind of like bagging on you guys for going on a hunt like that. And I heard Joe Rogan talk about this not too long ago. I don't remember which podcast it was. But he was talking about high fence not being as black and white as people like to think it is. It's not like it's in a pasture and it's tied up to a post and you walk up and you shoot it.
Yeah, it's tied to a tree, or if you pressure it enough, it's eventually going to find a corner, and then you just wait till it's in that corner, and then it's like, dude, you got nowhere to go. I'm going to shoot you.
Right.
Yeah, but then I'm going to position you somewhere else. So yeah,
it's not exactly like that. And so
not at all.
And so I want to get into what that's really like. And I heard a lot of guys talk about hunting in South Africa, and pretty much one of the only ways to do it is with a place with a fence. Like there's no more places left that don't have a fence, and a lot of times that fence is, for all intents and purposes, there to keep certain things out, namely poachers and people, but also maybe whatever other animals, but the fence is there, and it's a high fence operation.
Well, you have to look at it as it's a business. So their inventory is sitting there in the fence, and they make money based on their inventory, right? If they've got high numbers of animals, they can make more money. I mean, it literally is. Hunting's a business. It's a hobby, it's a sport, but it is also a business. And, like I told you, I literally called the guy. So the guy that really put this all together, his name's Jason Price.
And he's a stud.
He really is. Probably one of the most genuine people you can ever meet in your life. He owns a concrete company in Texas, and he's also a booking agent. And so for years and years, he's been booking hunts for individuals and has a lot of relationships. And the place that we went was in Wanaka, New Zealand. It's called Cadrona Safaris. And he's built a relationship with Duncan and Duncan's family, who owns and operates Cadrona. And what's interesting is Jason hunted with one of our dealers. We have a dealer up in Alaska, North Pole, Alaska. There actually is a North Pole, believe it or not. The guy's name is Bob Summers, and he is one of the coolest guys you've ever met in your life. He is a beast, too. And a lot of people know Bob because they kill massive brown bears every single year. The way that we were introduced to Jason was Bob and Jason went on a sheep hunt, and Bob gave Jason some mountain ops during the hunt. He basically fell in love with the product, wanted to meet us. So when there was an SCI show that Bob called us up and said, hey, this is a different kind of show. I want you guys to come and be a part of my booth if you would like to come and see what SCI is all about. So Jordan and I were going to go down, and then I can't remember logistically what happened, but I was the only one that ended up
at that time, the next week was like the Western Hunting Expo.
Oh, that's what it was.
That was going to be a big show for us, and I needed to make sure that was all planned, ducks in a row. And so I wasn't able to go to SCI.
Yeah, so I went down and I was in Bob's booth where he was selling his bear hunts and his sheep hunts and different things down at SCI, and I got to meet Jason. And Jason's the kind of guy where it doesn't matter who you are. When you meet Jason, you feel like you've known him forever.
Yeah.
Just one of those great...
so you meet this guy.
So I meet him and just hang out with him that week.
Yeah.
And by the end of the week, he's like, he's like, I would really like to go hunting with you guys. And I was like, dude, you seem like the type of guy that it would be a great time. He's like, I'm going to figure something out. So then he started bringing up New Zealand.
Yeah.
And we're like, dude, like, that's what you do when you're like,
that's when you do
60.
That's what
right?
you do when
That's
you're
what
like.
you do when you're like
That's what you do when
50,
you're like Brian's age.
when you're old and you got a little excess cash.
Yeah,
you're retired.
You're like, hey, I'm retired, and everybody talks about New Zealand. That it's like, it's one of the bucket lists. It's South Africa. It's New Zealand. It's Turkey. And so Casey meets Jason, and Jason starts putting all this together and basically puts it to a very like hangs the fruit. It's like, you guys want to go to New Zealand, and makes it so desirable that it's like, we can't say no to this. This is an incredible opportunity. I'm a huge nerd.
I know.
I
love it.
And love me or hate me, I like Lord of the Rings a lot. I've read the books more than I think I've read. I tell people I think I've read the Lord of the Rings more than I've read the Bible. And that's probably
that's
a bad
not hard
thing.
To do.
You're going.
Easier to read.
Yeah.
So
true.
So,
but you're going to
for
hell.
those that know and love Lord of the Rings, and those that maybe don't. And I think Aaron actually does like Lord of the Rings, because every once in a while he'll actually bust out like,
he busts out lines all the time.
Oh, I'm like, dude, you like Lord of the Rings? Like, I feel like a kindred spirit. I feel like we're connecting somewhere together. This is awesome. But so that's where Lord of the Rings was filmed. And so I've always dreamed of going to New Zealand. And before I really started to get more into hunting, I was really excited just to go there to experience the landscape and the country where it was filmed. And then when I first saw my first picture of the red deer, the red stag, I was like, and I have such a love and appreciation for elk that all of a sudden it's a very similar species. They have these beautiful antlers. And so I was excited. Did you on that? That's good.
Just double checking,
dude. I love this guy. He's on it all the time. He's on it like poop on it. So, when I saw the red stag, I became enthralled with that animal as well, like I am the elk. And so when Casey started telling me, he's like, dude, yeah, we could be going to New Zealand. I'm just sitting here going, holy crap, are you kidding me? Like, I've always dreamed, and my wife and I have talked about it. We'd love to go there. So it pans out that we're going to go to New Zealand. And I think, I didn't know what to expect. So I talked to a lot of people. So I talked to Dave Brinker at Sitka. He had been there. I talked to Ben O'Brien from Yeti. He had been there. I talked to a lot of guys who've been there. We talked to Jason. Jason's giving some ideas. And we're sitting there going, okay, so like, what is this experience going to be like?
I mean, I even called Jason. Like, one day I was like, dude, be honest with me. Do we just hold corn in our hand, and then when the the stags come up, like, you just stab them with a knife? Like, is that what this is going to be? Like,
yeah.
And like, we just had no idea. And I don't know if it's just because I've never seen films of people go and hunt that, or when they do, it just wasn't very entertaining, so I didn't watch it. I didn't know what to expect at all.
Yeah.
And so as it started to become more and more reality, and as it got closer, we started having more and more conversations about it. It started to feel like it was going to be more real. And you buy the airplane tickets for an astronomical amount of money, and we're like, oh, gosh, I hope.
And then you have to sit on a plane, like this tin can that's like got these. They do everything to make it awesome.
Okay,
but it's 14 hours.
So the best part of the plane ride is when we're signing up for our tickets. They ask what type of food you want.
Oh, gosh.
And so some people think we're smart. We think we're pretty stupid, and we've proved it. We're pretty stupid. The option was like vegan, something, and kosher.
Yeah, it was just like,
and
hey, don't like, you can either determine what kind of meal you want, or what kind do you want. So they give us these lists.
But it was like three options. So we're like, well, we're definitely not vegan, so we don't want that. The other one, I don't remember what it was, but we're like, that doesn't sound good. Let's look up what kosher means. I have no idea what kosher means.
So we Google kosher.
You guys are in for a shocker.
And then all of a sudden, we just did what millennials do, which instead of reading.
Back that off, dude. It got real loud all of a sudden.
Was it really loud? Oh, sorry.
Well, that's it. We either
we just looked at the
read
pictures.
what it was, or we looked at the pictures like, yeah, that looks pretty good. I see some meat in there. Like, let's do that.
We looked at the pictures.
So that's millennials.
When we got our meals,
Instagram, we double tapped on them too.
Like, we would get our meals first. And all of a sudden, we're like, why are we getting special treatment? Like,
Yeah,
we're in the
like,
back of the plane.
Yeah, we're like, we got the last seats in the plane because like it was the cheapest.
And it would come with this little red note that says your meal was prepared by such and such place, and it is certified kosher, and it's got all this like Jewish writing or Hebrew or whatever it is, Hebrew writing all over it.
Yeah,
and I'm like, This seems interesting.
This is going to taste really good, right? And then we open it up, and everybody else is getting served meals while all of a sudden they've given us our meals.
And our meals look way different than
ours. Look totally different. And we open them up, and steam comes up. It's like, oh, look, it's a hot meal. Can't wait to dive into this. And we dive into it, and I remember like it was chicken. The first one we got was chicken.
Yeah,
and
it was
we
teriyaki.
Yeah, and we cut the chicken. I'm like, oh, teriyaki. I love chicken. And I put it in my mouth, and I start chewing. And as I'm chewing, I'm like, this literally has no flavor at all.
I'm not one.
Like isn't that teriyaki? Where's the teriyaki? Where's the chicken? I don't even taste chicken.
There is literally
the rice. What is this? This is just substance and matter that has no flavor.
If anybody out there is Jewish,
yeah, no offense.
Kosher,
don't take offense to this. We're just not kosher.
Yeah,
and I kind of feel like I got Jewed a little bit on my meal.
There's not enough salt in the world to make that have flavor. Like you get a little salt and pepper.
The funny thing was they only gave you 2 salt and pepper packets, and so Casey and I both just lay into that. You know,
so finally on the way home,
yes,
the
get that righted. You get that fixed.
What?
On the way home.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Of course we didn't.
So we're getting
we ordered
dinner,
our meals
and the
to
guy,
and from.
For some reason, Jordan and I, we were wearing this Under Armour sweatshirt. We both had it on. So walking through the airport, everything
we actually had a similar hat, and then we had our tactical pants.
Everybody was laughing at us, and to us, it's no big deal. But nobody wears camo over there. So
they people were taking pictures of us.
So when we get on the plane, all the stewardesses were like, "Hi guys, you look a little weird, or whatever." So we're sitting down, so everybody's already looking at us weird, and the dude comes to ask us, hey, we're going to be bringing your food or whatever. And so you're like, oh, cool. And so he brings our food, and he looks at us, and he's like, are you guys Jewish? No, why? He's like,
you idiot.
Because I am, and you guys don't look Jewish. Why?
No, wait, let me do it. Let me do it. He goes.
Oh, you got to do the accent.
He goes, hi, mates, you having a good time on the plane today? I said, yeah, it's great. We're going to be here for 14 hours. I'm excited. He's like, oh, that's great, mate. Well, we're going to get you your meals out. Is it all right if we break the seals before we bring them? Yeah, that sounds good. All right, well, I'll bring your meals to you. So all of a sudden he brings the meals. He goes, you guys, this is Jordan and Casey, right? Harbertson, 442 and 443? Yeah, that's right. Okay, so you ordered the kosher meals, right? Yeah. Well, I'm just trying to understand. If I'm looking at you, I understand you guys, in the army? Are you guys in the army? And Casey and I are no, we're not in the army. He's like, oh, okay. You just got this thing. You just look at the army. Are you Jewish? and I'm just and I was about ready to, do one of these. I was
here's my yarmulke.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, man, but I look at him dude, we are so far from that. We are so far from that. He's like, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm Jewish, and I don't even like kosher meals. I don't even like my own food. So he starts taking these meals to everyone in the plane. And everyone in the plane is so excited. They're getting eggs and an American breakfast.
Right.
I think there was bacon in there or something. And we can just smell it. And our breakfast was a roll that was when you opened it up, it crumbled in your hand. And then we
not even lying.
And then the eggs were liquid and no flavor again.
It's not your thing.
Not our thing. So I look at him and I'm like, I'm like, dude, sir, can I swap meals? He's like, well, I've got to make sure everybody gets their meal first, and then I'll come back and I'll see if I've got some extras for you. And I'm like, God dang it, I hope you got some extras for me, because this thing sucks. And sure enough, he brought a meal back, and we were able to eat food. But anyways, we kind of got off topic. traveling to New Zealand. Traveling to New Zealand is not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it wasn't. It honestly wasn't.
I was
bad
able to
at
watch
all
the Lord of the Rings extended versions on the plane all the way over.
Wow.
In preparation, which was
in
awesome.
preparation for New Zealand because it's all filmed there.
I'm going to
Did you go
Middle
to
Earth?
Hobbitland?
No, Middle
Hobbiton?
Hobbiton or the Shire, where the Bag Ends live, is that's on the North Island. We landed when we flew over. We landed in.
Did
Auckland.
that break your heart?
Because where most of it was filmed is actually in the South Island, because the Southern Island is more rural. Yeah. There's less population there. And
what do you say?
Rural? Did I say it wrong?
Like rural?
Another Jordanism. Rural? Kind of like rural. What did I say last time? Was it Louisville? Yeah. Was that? I think and here it's called Rice Eccles Stadium or something like that.
Got it.
I say right Eccles. Anyways. So one thing that I think, touching back on the whole high fence thing, that I think it's important to understand, going back to Africa, Trevor, our business partner, he went to Africa this year for the first time. And it was actually, most people don't get this, it was his first hunt. So his first hunt is everyone's like bucket list to get to Africa. Yeah. He was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to go there. And he loved it. He absolutely loved it. And we got an opportunity to go to New Zealand. And, when you talk about do-it-yourself hunting, public land against high fence, I think, and when we're talking international hunting as opposed to domestic hunting, I think there's an important thing that people need to understand is that Casey and I had 6 days to hunt in New Zealand. We had 10 days of our trip, and 3 of those were consumed by travel alone. And so when we got there, we actually had 6 days to hunt, and we had 2 different species we were going after. And so most people would argue and probably say something along the lines of like, yeah, you guys cheated, or, you went to this place, you didn't go. Well, okay, but again, I'm going in blind then. Where do I start? Where am I able to hunt? What's public there and what is not? And how am I following those? Where do I find stag? Where do I find tar, right? I have 6 days to do this. And so I think people also need to understand that when you're doing an international hunt, you're going in and somebody has done a majority of the work as far as finding the animals. They do have a place that's their property with their animals that they're taking care of. The tar was a little bit different, but we were able to have an experience in a place that we would not otherwise have had if they hadn't been so prepared to receive us when we came and give us the opportunities that were there.
It's really, I've looked into going to Africa many times, and my reasons for going to Africa are just because I want to experience the country. I want to see the place. The animals are fascinating, right? And that's my biggest reason. I want to go experience hunting it. And I realize that the way that I will experience it isn't the same as it would have been 100 years ago or 200 years ago. It's not the same place as it used to be.
Right.
And I don't have the resources, per se, to pull it off in some of those other places. Or, like you said, it takes a lot of time to go and try to find a stag on public land, let's say in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. And whereas, being able to do it, with friends that invited you along, it's like it's kind of a no-brainer whether to go or not to go.
Exactly. And it's like to kind of, once Casey and I got there, Casey had talked to Jason, I had talked to different people, and we got different ideas. We still didn't know exactly what we were in for.
Well, and what I think is that people need to understand who haven't done it is you have the opportunity to create what hunt you want over there.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can choose if you want to hunt with a bow. You can choose if you want to hunt with a rifle. You can choose if you want to
hunt with a spear.
Hunt with a spear. If you want to, like, for example, we had the option, if we wanted to, we could drive around all day on four-wheeler trails and stuff until we found something and shoot it.
Yeah.
Or we could do what we chose, which was we would drive the four-wheeler into an area, and then we would hike a few miles each day, sometimes 2 to 3. Some days I think probably 4 to 5 miles. We wanted to do it on foot. We wanted to have, like, I guess you would say a more traditional experience where you would earn it rather than you're just driving around and road hunting, if you will.
And these guys weren't, when we came, And they heard that these mountain ops guys are coming, or these guys that are Western hunters. And so when we got there, they gave us the option. They said, what are you guys looking for? Well, I had brought my compound bow, my Hoyt Carbon Defiant, and I have been shooting that bow like literally every day. I've been practicing for September before I knew that
this was going to
happen. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I'm going to have an opportunity to shoot a stag with a bow. Like, this is exactly what I've wanted. This is amazing. So when I came, I was determined I wanted a bow hunt, and I wanted to hunt the stag with a bow. Now, mind you, when Casey and I got to New Zealand, it was their winter. So where September is in here, the prime rut, and when elk are bugling and it's, everything's awesome. It's January, February, and March, and a little bit of April is like the roar. It's their
right.
It's theirs. So
it's their fall.
We hit their winter.
So it was 20 degrees. When
it was
we were
20
over
degrees.
Here,
when we were over
home
there.
It was 110
degrees. Even
Yeah.
in their winter, which they hadn't really had any snowfall when we got there. They had a lot in the tops. It was beautiful. It was awesome. So it was going to be so when I got there, all of them looked at me and they're like, "So you're gonna," or I'll do their like, "Hi, mate. So you're gonna do the hunt with a bow, eh?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." And they're like, "Well, mate, why don't we cut the strings now and give you a gun, because that's probably not going to happen." Like, you missed it by like 3 months. And I'm like, "Dude, I'm here to hunt with a bow. This is what I want. I want to hunt. I want to hike. I want to work hard for it. I want to earn it." Like, I don't, and they're accustomed to having customers come in and say, literally, like, "Can I just drive up to something and shoot it?"
Yeah.
That's how they are. But we weren't that way. And so I'll talk a little bit about my hunt and how it went, from the stag to the Tahr that I shot, and then have Casey also kind of touch on his. So, when we got there, again, a lot of pressure. Yeah.
Before you get into that, I want to talk a little bit about my recent experience. So,
with your hunt in
British Columbia
with Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we went to Primitive Outfitting up there with Jeff Lander and Ryan.
He's a stud.
He is. He's awesome. And Ryan Callahan from First Light, and we got to hang out there. Aaron has some more experience with outfitting than I have, like helping do some guiding and being in the Northwest Territories, or at least being a photographer up there and observing. He's got a lot of experience. This is all new for me, right? Like, I've been with my uncle, who is a guide at High Point Outfitters in Arizona. But for me, it was just going hunting with my uncle. That was family, but this is my first time really in a guided hunt kind of situation. Well, if I'm hunting in British Columbia pretty much for bear as a U.S. citizen, as far as I understand it, I have to have a guide. I don't have a choice.
Yep.
Right? I'd love to do it by myself, but it's not an option. That's one thing. So then the next thing is, this is my first experience going to an area where I was able to, it was what I would call a target-rich environment. It was on another level. It's on another level, not unlike a tag that takes 10, 15, 20 years to draw, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm. But it's a pay-to-play situation. You pay the guide, and you get to go on a hunting trip. And it gets to be like something like drawing a tag you've waited, 20 years to draw or something, right? It's a great hunt. Well, you don't get to have those experiences just out on a public land hunt the same way. It was really cool. It had a different feel to it than a lot of my public land experiences. It was an adventure, but I'd say, in many ways, it felt like a normal hunt. It didn't feel any different other than I felt like I was hunting in like a killer hunting area.
I found the honey hole.
I found the honey hole of all honey holes.
All the bears in BC are in this like 2-mile radius,
right?
Like right here.
That's what it felt like. Otherwise, the rest of the hunt felt almost exactly the same as it is on a public land hunt with my buddies and my pals and going out. It was just, and this wasn't high fence, right? it's public. It's open land, but a lot of private, and Landers owns the rights to a certain part of the country over there, where he gets so many tags and he can issue them, sell those tags. So they manage that land, and it's like a private. It's like paying someone to hunt private land, right? It's very similar. Like I said, though, the hunt itself was just like any other hunt, except for the fact that I found the honey hole of all honey holes. It's like drawing the prime tag. You
got the limited entry of limited entry tag.
And it felt cool. High fence is a little bit different, but how big was this property that you guys were hunting on?
10,000 acres.
10,000 acres.
So they had. So
how many miles is that?
I don't know.
Don't ask me to do math.
I've hunted 10,000 acres on a CWMU that my buddy drew.
Mm-hmm.
And we hunted it for an entire month, and we didn't even see.
There's my phone.
Probably 2/3 of the property, probably, just because you would kind of find the spot that you wanted to hunt, and you kind of keep hitting those same spots. So 10,000 acres is a lot of land.
Yeah,
I mean, but I honestly don't know how many.
But you found the honey hole of honey holes over there.
We did. So
before you get into that, though, there's that one thing that Jordan brought up, which was, they're used to having clients just come up and say, okay, where's the stag? I'm going to shoot it.
This was, okay, so...
And that's one thing that I noticed, too, as I was talking to Aaron and stuff about...
15 square miles. 15.625 square miles.
So,
thank you, Google. Free plug.
5/8.
Talking to our guides and stuff in BC, it was really eye-opening. They talked about the type of clients that they get. And they get some that are great hunters. And they get some that aren't really there to hunt. They just bought an animal.
Right. I would say it's the way that you have to look at it is it's different than the way you would want to pursue that animal. I mean, because it's different than the way that I want to hunt animals, but I can't necessarily look down on that individual because that's just how they want to do it, and they're not me, and so I'm just going to do it how I want.
It's the principle of teach their own. Right. And I think we all have, and again, it comes back to just like a level of respect. Like, as long as you're respecting the sport, you're respecting the animals, you're respecting, conservation, like what you're contributing to that. And if you can always have that at the forefront of everything that you do, I think that's good. Nobody's perfect when it comes to hunting. People make mistakes, but I think, I agree with you. It's tough. Like when you hear that from your guide or that individual, which we also in turn in New Zealand also heard similar things along those same lines. And so like for us, our hunt, we had the opportunity to make our hunt what we wanted to make it. And we wanted to make it like we were hiking the mountains of Utah and chasing bugling elk like we've always loved to do growing up. Yeah. And so that's what we made New Zealand into. And the guides, when we started hunting, they started, we drive into the property and then all of a sudden and in New Zealand, the mountains are just immaculate. They're beautiful. They're majestic. The elevations, verticals are like this, but it's everything you've ever dreamed of and seen in pictures. Like I always say that I think God probably spent an extra day or two when he was creating the earth just on New Zealand. Yeah. Like that place is incredible. And so not only did we get to be in this incredible place, but we had an incredible opportunity to decide how we wanted this experience to go. And what Casey and I decided is we wanted it to be hard. We didn't want it to be easy. We wanted to earn it. We wanted to work for it. And so the guides immediately were like,
you guys are crazy.
You guys are crazy. And I'm telling you, I told you this earlier, every day, Jordan, let's cut your bowstrings. Just grab the gun. It's easier. You just kill him. I'm like, no, I am going to do this. I am determined to do this. Day one, blew a stalk and an opportunity at 35 yards. Really nice stag. He busted, lost it. I was like, I started the traditional bow hunting. I'm like, just like, oh my gosh, like I can't. All the what ifs. What did I do wrong? Right. Next day, same thing. Not as a great opportunity, but like we came around this bend of the mountain and saw two stags. And once they spotted us, they kind of kept eyes on us. We backed out, and then Casey basically looked at me. He's like, "Dude,
no, you're forgetting something. So we're like in a dead-on stare with these two stags that are only about 100 yards away. And go hit Brent. He's snoring.
Dude.
I think we need to give him the Yeti.
Dude.
So,
You can't fall asleep, brother.
Dude,
I drove for 12
See why I gotta
hours.
watch
dude.
him.
I know.
He's like
I understand now what you're doing because all of a sudden I look over and he's just like,
He's out. I saw him fall. He's out.
I'm not out. What are you talking about? I'm
do
clearly speaking to you.
Do like 10 jumping jacks.
So
I'll get your blood flowing a little bit more.
Ew. There's no air up here. I could pass out.
That's true. I am.
Welcome to Utah.
This elevation is. I'm feeling it, man.
Walking
Dude,
to
we're
the
going to have to
bathroom
get you
is
the
a feat.
ascent. We'll get you the ascent. We'll get you enduro because we are tomorrow going up to like 10,000 plus feet
Dude.
to go shoot bows at some awesome 3D targets here.
You hear me like second wind as
Oh,
we're
yeah.
walking up the elevator and everything.
we were taking the escalator, and Brian's like,
See,
I
so
don't know if
this
I can
is
do this.
see, so going back to dead weight. This is like perfect. We need to do like a straight on up the mountain hike, running with weight in the pack, and I want to challenge you. I think I've got an even playing field right now with you tomorrow.
Hey, dude,
we'll see who's dead weight.
It just depends how much weight we put in the pack. Let's put a lot in, like over 100 pounds, and do the race.
So wait, what did I miss? What did I-
so here's
Back to the hunt.
this
Back to the
was
hunt.
so cool, and so the guys we with, they brought this guy named Dallas Haymeyer that is getting into filming, and it does a fantastic job. And so he filmed a lot of our hunts. So he would jump in with different guys and film their hunts. So he was actually with Jordan and I that first day, and so we're in a dead-on stare with these stags, and we're like just pinned. And the way that stags are is there's no predators at all
in New Zealand.
in New Zealand. So the only
You
predator
are
is
the
the
predator.
You are the predator. So when they see a human shape or they smell anything human, like they are gone because they know that's the thing that brings death upon me. Well, so we're in this deathlock stare with them, and I look at Jordan and I say, Jordan, go hike up through, and there was this little valley. I said, hike up through this valley and get up on top up there. They are going to meet you.
He
right
didn't
at top.
say hike.
I
He
said,
said
run.
run.
Well, I said run because these guys were getting to the point where they're
Did
like,
he say run?
we're bouncing.
No, he's like, Jordan, if you want an opportunity at that stag, because there's these two beautiful stags, he's like, they have spotted us, so, the gig's up. So you've either
So
got
he said,
to,
"Hey, dude, run dead."
you've got
I'll
to rendezvous
stay right
with
dead
them
weight,
at the
run.
top. Yes, he's like,
I'll
dead
keep
weight.
their attention,
Run,
and you
dead
run
weight,
as fast as you can up to that point.
Yeah.
So Jordan did everything perfect. He got up to the point. Okay, the stags are making their way to Jordan, and I'm just sitting there like
running, dead sprint. Like I drop all my gear and I just go dead sprint all the way to top. And I left my phone and I left any kind of communication, so it basically
So-
became like smoke signals. So I turn around and look back down the mountain, and I'm like, which way?
Yeah,
which way?
you're
All of a sudden,
pointing up
I
and
see
down the
Casey. I
hill.
see Casey go.
He's
I'm like,
signaling you
I'm running some more.
I'm like,
straight
He's
up.
like, they're coming. He's like, so you run. So I'm like, so I just start running again.
he
I keep
starts running
Then
the
I turn
wrong-
around.
wait.
I turn around and I look back at him, and I'm like, where am I going? And Casey's motioning like, you're going the wrong way.
So I'm like trying to point him
he's
the
like,
other way.
go
He's
this
going
way.
away from the
So I'm
stag.
like,
he
and I
keeps
start
going
on
the wrong
another
way.
dead sprint. And then all of a sudden I get to the top of this ridge, and I look back at Casey like one more time, and Casey's kind of like, I've created enough distance that Casey's like a really small guy. So I'm just like, dude, I don't know what you're saying. I'm on my own now, and I look over and I'm just like, oh, there he is. Like, here it is. So I grab my rangefinder out, I come up, and it's like 90 yards. And so I'm like, sweet. So I dial for 90, and then I come up and I draw and I get set up. And right as I get set up on him, boom, he just starts taking off. And I track him. And I'm just like, it's not a good shot. So he takes off, and I'm just like, gosh, dang it. Like, I just ran to the top of this mountain, to get to this guy, and there was my opportunity, and it's gone. So I'm just, again, another opportunity blown. I come back.
well,
Yeah,
hold
no,
up.
No,
Mind
I'm going to
you-
get to it. I'm coming back down the mountain, and I am like,
no, you haven't even left yet. This is the funny part: is Jordan had seen one of the stags, which had seen him, but he forgot there was two stags, and that second stag had no idea Jordan was there.
well, I didn't know. Yeah, so I didn't know.
What happened is we're trying to give Jordan smoke signals that there is a stag 30 yards to his left. He's looking to the right, and to his left, There's 30 stags. And we have on film Jordan taking his hat off, scratching his head like, what in the world is going on? And there's a stag 30 yards to his left.
Dude.
And he has no idea. All he needed to do was turn 3 inches.
I don't know. And
Jordan seen it.
And I'm a lefty, right? So I favor the left. I should always look left, right? And I did. I took my hat off and I was scratching my head and I was just like, just one of those defeating moments. Like, I just ran all the way up this thing. I just worked my butt off and another loss, or just another Stags 2, Jordan 0. And so while that's going on, I have no idea that to my left at 40 yards and in frame of the video is this stag just kind of looking at me like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Who are you? And all I need to do is just hey. No. So I come back down the mountain. You
gotta be joking
and
me.
I get to the bottom, and Casey just has this look of like, bro, like, did you not look left? And I'm like, look left? What do you mean? Dude, they ran up the mountain. He's like, there was one of them. Do you remember there was two? I was like, oh, yeah. Where did he go? He's like, well, he was sitting right next to it, 40 yards. He pulls up the video. And I just, so it's like one of those like what if moments. He's like, dude, like I just dropped even lower. I'm like, you're telling me that other guy was sitting 40 yards to my left staring at me broadside, and I maybe could have had a chance if I had gone to draw and maybe.
All right, like, Jordan.
Dude, it was so funny.
Look, my friend, this is just highlighting how bad of a hunter you are. Right.
So,
like, don't take offense, but you're not that experienced. This is all brand new, right?
This is my first. I've done now 3 bow hunts at big game. This was my first, we bow hunt in groups, person gets shooter. This was really my first time, like, okay, you're like, this is yours. You get to make decisions.
I wasn't even carrying a weapon. It was all on him.
This is all up to you. You've got to make or break this kind of thing. So.
Well, and not only that, I mean, you drew your tag last year, which was a cool hunt.
Yep.
But it's tough dates for that.
That hunt was those were tough dates.
Well, do you want to hear something funny? I can't remember if we told the story, but we had a very similar experience happen where I'm like, okay, Jordan, here's where you need to go and what you need to do. We had a bull probably 80 yards away, maybe 100 yards away in the trees, bugling in his bed, and I'm like, I've got him. I'm chirping at him. He's responding. He's right on top of me. I'm like, he's worried about me. You slip in and kill him.
Yeah.
And I made the mistake of, so I followed Casey's directions on where to go, and again, no radio connection. This is all, once you leave, you're on your own. You leave the nest. And I come around this hill, and I'm supposed to come in and drop in and basically go into the tree line, hike up a little bit, and then drop into the tree line. There should be a bull there.
Yeah.
And what I ended up doing is when I got away from Casey, I came around, and I got to the tree line. But when I got to the tree line, I thought I might have busted him or something happened, because then all of a sudden I hear movement and elk starting to head uphill, and I hear some bugles. Yeah. And so I all of a sudden think, crap. That guy's there, or was there, but he's now moved. I either made a mistake, or maybe Casey didn't sound good. I don't know.
Right.
So guess what I do? I start hiking all the way up this mountain, chasing these elk all the way up it. And I'm right on their tails, and in some points, I probably close the gap to probably 30 yards, but it's so thick as you start getting up higher that I ended up hiking to the very top of this mountain. I don't remember how many miles it was.
And meanwhile, I'm sitting down in the bottom in this nice meadow.
With an elk.
Every 2 minutes, and I'm like, he's roaring off, and I'm like,
and Jordan's off.
Jordan
running up the mountain.
He's like really enjoying whatever experience he's got going on in those trees. And
it was cool. And when I got up there, I actually got up to a point where there were 2 bulls actually fighting. Yeah. And it was a minefield, and there was cows everywhere, and there was no way I was going to be able to not set one of them off. And so I kind of got held up. And again, eventually, they ended up. So I come down the hill, same situation. She's like, dude, what'd you do?
Yeah.
Right. Inexperience, learning.
All I was going to say is sometimes one of the best things that can happen for a new hunter or a very inexperienced hunter, I think, is to be put in a situation where you're set up to succeed. Like, it's all really hard to fail. I take my kids fishing, right? I want them to get hooked on fishing. I'm not taking them to some fishing hole where they got to fish all day and they might
We're
get
taking
a bite.
them to a fish farm, baby.
I'm taking them to maybe an artificial pond like on our own property where it's stocked, and they're catching fish and they're like, oh yeah, I love fishing, and their success gives them confidence and stuff. And then we graduate to a little tougher water and a little tougher situation, but they're excited about it. And I think sometimes when you're dealing with inexperience. One of the reasons I wanted to go to Prince of Wales Island and shoot 3 blacktail Sitka bucks was because you could shoot 3 blacktail Sitka bucks, and that's 3 stock opportunities. Three. If I can fill my tag with all 3, that's 3 hunts in one season, which would take me 3 years or more to gain that much experience if I stay home and do it in a different situation, right? So I'm going to a target-rich area. I have 3 tags, and I hadn't really shot that many animals with a bow. And so this gave me that experience of getting on the animal, shooting them, and I think it's there's no replacement for success.
No.
When you're hunting to gain confidence and experience. And so for me, it's like one of the reasons I want my kids to draw a killer tag is so that when they go on their first hunt or one of their earlier hunts, that they're in a hunt where it's kind of a gimme, because they need that experience, and that makes it a little easier. And it's I've talked about this when I put apples on my property for blacktails. Well, a lot of people, are like, "Yeah, dude, that's cheating," And I've realized when I started putting apples out, the amount of deer I saw compared to the amount, they're like, I would rather just see what deer behavior is like when no one's around and when there's no apples. And well, I know what it's like. It's not there where I hunt. It's like you don't see them the same way. And it's and being able to observe them as much as because of the apples, I was able to observe blacktails, and I have things on film that I've captured that, and the amount of blacktail behavior I've observed from a tree stand. Hours a day where I have 4 or 5 sets of deer come in, multiple young bucks spar in front of below me, chase each other, rut, chasing a doe through the woods, another buck comes in and they fight. I've seen all of that. Never saw that for years before I started putting the apples out. So who has more experience now? I gained a lot of experience by being in an environment where there were animals.
Right.
So one thing that's cool is going to New Zealand like this, you get a lot of experience where there's a lot of animals.
It's a target-rich environment, right? I mean, these animals are wild within the space that they're allowed to be wild within. And so even, knowing that it was funny, the situation that happened, I still, from that experience, what happened to me there and what happened to me when I blew that first stock, when I ran all the way up that mountain and kind of made the same mistake that I made before, the previous year elk hunting. When we were elk hunting, Casey and I, for those 3 weeks, we had limited opportunities. And so I never really got very close to many elk because of the weather, because of the nemesis of the wind, just situations. And we hunted hard. We hunted we put everything into that. I mean, we literally cried tears at the last day because of how hard we had worked and that it was all over and that we were not coming home with any meat for the freezer. It was a very, very hard hunt, and it was very, difficult. Yeah. And that hunt literally has haunted my mind ever since. We even did a podcast on it. It's haunted my mind ever since because of what happened and just not getting it done and being inexperienced and just wanting to gain more. And so every time I failed on this hunt, that hunt came back into my mind. When we came back down that hill, and Casey's like, dude, 40 yards, bro, right there. I'm just like, dude, don't tell me that. Now, I'm already at my lowest. And so then the next day,
no, you're forgetting. So one of the things that I want to talk about is, how we created our experience. We were the only guys with bows. All the other guys in our group were with guns. Some of them chose that they just wanted to drive around on a 4-wheeler. Other guys got out and walked. We saw. We saw 7 stags the first day.
We saw so many stags.
But one of the stories Jordan's forgetting is we saw a massive stag.
Yeah.
Bedded. Like, we spotted him probably 2 miles away, bedded, and we're like, he's kind of in a bad bow spot.
Yeah.
So let's go. Let's eat some lunch. Let's let him. He's not going anywhere. Let's put a game plan together and let's come back after him. Well, so we ate lunch and then we're like, okay, let's put a game plan together. And he had moved from that time to like the perfect,
a great spot,
bow spot. Okay,
great spot, perfect
and
opportunity.
So we do the same thing. We get into like 150 yards on him, and he has no idea that we're there. We're just super sneaky getting in there, and
wind's perfect.
Wind's perfect. Everything's perfect. Jordan, we decide to stay back. We're like, all right, Jordan, you go in. So Jordan goes and he makes his way in, and we actually had radios at this time, and so I'm watching.
Casey's got full, front row seat to this show that's about to go down.
So I've got massive stag, which we actually ended up killing. Another guy ended up shooting with a rifle, and it was a 470-inch stag. So,
toad.
Yeah, it was big. So Jordan, I'm watching the stag, and I'm seeing Jordan sneaking. He's doing everything perfect, but he gets hung up in the brush. And so he gets on the radio, and he's like, I can't see the stag. And I said, well, my guess is he's about 60 yards from you straight ahead. He's like, what do I need to do? And I said, well, if you can't see him through that brush, you need to come outside of the brush, go up about 10 yards, and he's going to be 40 to 50 yards from you, bedded, and he's actually looking the other way. So I don't know what happened on your end.
So at that point, after Casey had kind of given me that intel, I'm like, okay, straight ahead from me, 60 yards. I'm like, it's thick through here. And Casey still couldn't see me at this point. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, all right. Casey's like, based on where you're telling me, he's probably 60 yards. So I started to make an advance to close that gap. And then as I started to do that, all of a sudden Casey comes on the radio and he's like, dude, he's now looking your way. Oh, yeah. So whatever you're doing, he's either heard you or he's cautious and he's looking your way. So I'm like, crap. So now what do? Do I continue the pursuit? Do I back out? Again, inexperience, is trying to figure out. And I end up continuing the pursuit. And as I keep going, all of a sudden, Casey's like, dude, he's up out of his bed. Where are you? He's up out of his bed right now. Like, opportunities now if you've got it. And I'm like, dude, can you see me? And he's like, I can't see you. So I kind of stand up from the brush and he's like, dude, he's like 30 yards. Well, I can't see him from my vantage point where I'm at. It's too thick, and he's up down this little thing and on the other side of this ridge. And again, he takes off. He busts. Well, had I again played it out, going back and playing the white disc, if I had stayed on the edge and instead of cutting in too soon, had I come around and gone probably 20, 30 yards more up around this, I literally would have came right on top of him and had the perfect shot and probably would just put him one right in his bed. But it didn't happen that way. I failed again. Okay, another tough failure. It sucked.
But what's interesting is that happened at the end of light. When we got back to the lodge, we were excited to hear everybody else's stories. Nobody else had a story.
Nobody else had seen anything.
So the other 4 guys that were hunting saw one stag, and we're like, that's kind of weird. Like, why did we see so many? That ended up being the story every single day. And I attribute that to we were getting out there. We were being quiet. We were using the skills that we normally would use on like a public land hunt. And because of that, we were seeing and having multiple opportunities on a day where these guys, those stags know they hear a 4-wheeler, like they're going to run in the opposite direction, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't hear us coming. As long as we had the wind right, they couldn't smell us.
And so,
I think
after
wind too, a lot of people don't pay attention in the wind.
No,
especially
and that is
without a lot of experience in.
That is one part of hunting that I have really
rifle
adapted.
Hunters sometimes tend to think they don't have to worry about it either because they're shooting so far, and whereas bow hunter, it's pretty much imperative. There's
it's more important than the camouflage you're wearing. It doesn't matter what you're wearing if you don't have the wind.
When you're closing those gaps from 60 yards, and that wind is everything where it's swirling. And so
these
continue
experiences, they build on each other.
They build on each other. Each one that I had in my experience was a failed attempt, a failure, and it just kept beating me up. I literally just kept beating myself up. I was like, how many more times am I going to fail? How many more times am I not going to succeed at this? Like, why do I keep just messing up? And I start beating myself up. And then the next day, Casey ends up going away. He goes, we get split up. He goes tahr hunting, and I end up going to continue the pursuit with the bow of the stag. And I'm with my guide, Marcus, and we hunt all day and we don't see anything. And I start to get a little discouraged. And then all of a sudden, close to the end of the day, we get another opportunity. We all of a sudden are hiking this ridge, scaling this mountain, and sure enough, in this open space of the ridge, of the side of this south slope, is this big stag. And we put the game plan together, and we're like, okay, this is how it's going to go. Thermals are looking good. Wind's great. It's going up, so let's just hike up to the top of this. Let's drop up the backside. We'll hike around. We'll come back over, and we'll drop literally right into him, come up over this lip, and he'll be probably 20 yards at that point. He's feeding uphill. Let's do it. We play that whole scenario out. Everything happens perfectly. Everything, Brian, happens perfectly. We literally drop right into him. There's a sheep in between him. We're worried about it. Crap, they're going to scare him away. They end up going the direction they should. And I get up to this point, and Marcus is in front of me, and he's like, okay, from this point on, no talking. We're just going to do hand signals. Like, I'll tell you this is 30, this is 25, 20. So I'm like, sweet. So he just goes up, and he just crests over a little bit, looks back at me, and he's like, 25 yards right there. And all of a sudden, it just starts going. It's like, oh, my gosh, here we go. And he steps back. I go to full draw, and I step up, and I can see this stag's freaking rack.
Is this the one you shoot?
No. No, it's not. This is a 20-yard opportunity. 20-yard opportunity. As I come up and over, I can see, because it's up above this brush that's in between him and I, and I can't see his body. So I get kind of,
now,
again, inexperience.
To give everyone an idea of what the brush is like, go and rent the movie Sleeping Beauty that Disney created. And there's a portion of that movie where Maleficent gets these thorns to go all over the castle so nobody can get in the castle.
I love when she turns into a dragon.
We have a Disney.
That is New Zealand.
We're giving Disney a plug here.
A Disney reference.
Brush.
That is what the
Disney
New Zealand
doesn't
brush
need a
is like. It is so thick that you have 0 shooting lanes, and all you can see is their antlers.
Yeah.
And they lie down in that brush. They don't lie down usually in an open spot.
I've seen a bunch of those hunts, and Remy Warren has shown some of that too on some
it's
of
some
his
crazy
Solo
stuff.
on Solo Hunter episodes, and it's thick.
It's very thick. And so at that moment, I have a few decisions to make. One, knowing after what happened, what I should have done. Again, you always play it back. I chose to be a little aggressive. I went to full draw, and I started to come around that bush because he was feeding uphill, and I knew I'd have a perfectly broadside shot. Well, I got to full draw, got set, and I started to come around. And right as I came around, I was on his horns, and then I saw his body, and I started to drop to the vital zone. And as soon as I started to make movement and drop, gone. He busted. He turned, and they're fast. He turns, and he just took off downhill, and I tracked him and just took a shot at what I thought was probably about 60 yards, and I shot over his back. He held up at 20, gave me a look, and was like, here's what you missed, and then took off. And that moment, Brian, was, I think a lot of people listening to this podcast can probably relate to, whether you're experienced or inexperienced, it doesn't matter. It sucks. Bow hunting sucks. And that moment literally put me on the ropes. I was down. I kept beating myself up. I realized, like, maybe if I had been patient, he would have fed uphill and gone into a spot that would have been probably a perfect shot if I had been patient.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I wanted to wait for the wind. Anyways, fast forward to that night, I was just down on myself, and I was like, okay, like, what's going to happen? And all the guys from New Zealand, they're just like, dude, let's cut the bowstrings. Like, and I remember looking at my guide's face, and the guides work so hard. They work so hard for you because they have a limited time to hopefully help you bring success, right? Or bring you success. And I just saw Marcus's face, and it just was like, as much as mine, and he's like, dude, I can't just keep doing this. How many opportunities have you had in winter when, like, this doesn't happen, And so I woke up that next day, and I had instilled in myself. I had so much desire. I had so much willpower. I wanted it so bad. I went to Marcus and I said, Marcus, I know you're pretty tired of me, and I'm probably not the easiest client that you've ever had, but I want this so bad, and I will do whatever it takes. I'll hike as far as we need to go. Gosh, if we've got to hike in 5 miles to get to some more, wherever, I will go and do whatever needs to be done. I want this so bad. I will work so hard, and I promise I'm going to do my best not to make another mistake. But so we ended up starting and hiking up to the top of this mountain, hiking and scaling across this, looking into these chutes, ended up just seeing nothing but hinds, which are cows or girls.
Yep.
And I started to get more discouraged. I'm like, dude, I don't think I'm going to have another opportunity. I just don't. Well, what ended up happening is we got to the top of this ridge, and sure enough, in one of these chutes down the mountain, there was 2 stags in there. And one was bedded and one was feeding. And they were in a spot that we had seen the first day where the other stag at 35 yards. I busted it. And I looked at him and I said, what's the game plan? What do we do? I'm like, I can't believe they're there. Like, this is it. And he looked at me and he's like, wind is going right at him. We can't drop in. That would be the easiest thing. He's like, we're going to have to hike all the way down this mountain to the very base, hike across and hike back up. So that's what we did. Hiked down to the bottom, hiked to the top. It was a 2-mile stalk.
Yeah.
We literally hiked to the bottom, came up, and then hiked up this ridge and came right to right where he was going to be on the other side. And sure enough, right as we come up to the other side, there he is at 35 yards. So I get up and I draw before I come up and over, so there's no movement, and I draw and I get up and I get set. And right as I start to get set, all I can see is his antlers. There's no body again.
Mm-hmm.
And I am in this moment thinking, I don't want to screw this up. I'm playing everything I've done before, all the hunts, all those failures, all the things I've
monkeys on your back.
Yeah, right. And I literally held my bow at full draw. I love the Carbon Defiant. I love the Hoyt because that new back wall and that cam let off is incredible. Like, I literally held ice in the veins for a minute and a half, just solid. He never presented a shot that I could get a body because, again, it was thick. So I backed off, came around, popped up, and came at full draw, and there he was at 30 yards. Everything I'd been practicing, a 30-yard shot was like a chip shot for me, and it all happened so fast. All of a sudden, he's there, he's broadside, and I still remember that moment. I was like, don't screw this up. It's like what's playing in my head. I'm like, here is your moment.
Right.
And I came at full draw, and I set on him, and I put it right where it needed to be. And I stroked it, and I watched it through the sight just punch him right square in the vitals, and he ended up taking off down the hill. And at that moment, I scream, like I just, like just a release of like all the stupidity, all the failures, falling on my face. Like it all came together in that moment, and I knew that I made a good shot. I knew that he was done. And sure enough, he ended up coming back up and out into this opening and ended up where we could see him. We watched it. He just piled right into a tree. And that was it. And, dude, I can't tell you, Brian, like, that was awesome. Like, that was
he's a stud.
Incredible. He's a stud.
What's he score?
He's
size?
For size matters and, doesn't really mean much to me just because of the accomplishment. That was more to me than anything. But he'll probably go, like, 400 or 410 is what they were telling me. He's a nice stag.
That's just it's just stags are amazing.
They're amazing. They're incredible. And so, yeah, to everybody watching, like, I did it. Call me dead weight, whatever you want. I freaking worked my butt off. And to experience success, as you're talking about, you're going to have a lot of failures. You're going to fall on your face a lot before you experience those. But it's so sweet when you do. And that was a really incredible, monumental moment, not only in my life, that experience of that hunt. I wish Casey was there with it. Going to another country, being in a place that I've dreamed about, and taking an animal that I have always dreamed of pursuing, and to be able to win that chess match and to have that opportunity to harvest that animal and was incredible. It's something I'll never forget, and I'm so grateful for it.
What did that do for you right now? Like, how do you feel about going out and doing it again? Elk hunting, deer hunting.
I would say that it has renewed my spirits in my own abilities to accomplish something that I I always wanted to, and I've actually had a lot of people, unfortunately, tell me they didn't think I could do it. Even before I left, I had a lot of people who are even some close friends that are like, dude, why are you taking the bow? Like, you're probably not going to get it done. It's probably not going to happen. And I'm just like, well, thanks for the support. Like, that's a tool thing to do. But to answer your question, yes. I look forward to September. I look forward to pursuing some mule deer along the fronts of these mountains. And I feel after accomplishing that and after all those failures and all having that all come together the way it did, I can't wait for all the more failures that I'm going to have chasing elk and deer and being able to win those chess matches, hopefully, and have success.
Hunting is it's a struggle. There are guys for years that struggle to kill that first animal. And then it seems like something clicks after that, and they're able to do it after that. But there's that first one can be so tough, and dealing with the nerves, dealing with the the intensity of the moment, the self-talk I think is really important. One of the things that you were saying was, "Please don't screw this up. Please don't screw this up." I don't think that's really the best self-talk.
No. It's like when you're golfing, you're like, "Don't put it in the water." And then
it's like and don't get me wrong, I'm not judging, because I've done the same thing where I've been in that situation and I've been like, dude, don't miss again. Don't miss again. This is not. And that completely changed to where now when I draw my bow back and stuff, it's like, you're gonna die. You're gonna die. This is over. This hunt's over. I mean, there's just a whole different feeling and attitude when I get that bow back and when I'm in that moment than there was in the past. Some of that, again, is just doing it, finding that success, getting over it the first few times. But now I look back too, and I realize that the things I said to myself were the wrong things way back when. The way I was like, that there was any doubt at all was was playing against me. So I think it's cool to anyone, to be in that situation. It's just raw and honest. You're just being raw and honest that, hey, I'm sitting there and it's like just all these failures and all this stuff. It's like, it just can't happen to me again. This has to work this time.
Yeah, it was in that very moment, and everybody's different. Like a lot of people say that they miss because they shake and that they get buck and bull fever and they're shaking. And in all of the 3 kills that I had over in New Zealand, every single one was ice in the veins. I didn't, and I'm not trying to be cocky. It's just for me, like when that moment came,
you're steady.
I was so steady. I was so solid. There was no doubt in my mind that I was going to deliver the shot that needed to be delivered. In that moment, obviously, I was playing back the whole the highlight reel of all my failures and saying, "Here is your opportunity." Now more than ever,
capitalize.
Don't screw this up. Capitalize. And so when I did come to that full draw, I had played everything out in my mind just like you do. You set your shot and just came in and boom. When I pulled that, it felt so good to know when that hit, all of that hard work, all the practice, all the exercising, all of the practice with the bow, the continually doing that every day and preparing for this to have that be bookended with that. Was bittersweet because literally don't go somewhere and only shoot your bow 2 days before you leave or something.
Right.
Take the time, practice, prepare, and do all that stuff. Be ready for it when the opportunity comes.
A 60-yard running shot isn't exactly a good idea.
No, it was
he learned from that experience.
I learned from that experience. You just don't do those. It was just
frustration, and
it was as he was leaving, I'm sitting there, he's at 20 yards, and then as he goes, I was on him the whole time, but then it's all a guesstimate at that point. It's not like you got a rifle and you can lead and shoot.
No, it's totally different, and I think the experience of without having there's a lot of TV out there that makes bow hunting look a certain way, you know what I mean, and other hunters too, but until you've practiced trying to do something like that, you realize how tough it is.
Oh, so tough.
Absolutely.
And there's certain shots, I passed on a couple of shots. I passed on a shot in BC just recently when I was at Primitive Outfitting, when I was up there, because the bear was walking, and I didn't want to take a moving shot. I wanted to make sure, I probably could have whacked him. He was 16 yards away. I had him right there. I just, I was like, let me wait a second. And in the end, I kind of, I grunted at him. I was like, meh, just to get him to like pause for a second. Guess what? That did not work. So that's another story from another podcast, which that podcast from BC, we have a 3-hour podcast, like 3 sections. It's 3 separate podcasts that are an hour each. We're going to publish those here really soon. But I think this podcast is going to go up first because I'm still waiting on the video from Aaron Snyder from that podcast because we used his camera. And it's been, 3 weeks, and he hasn't delivered the video?
Man. He's very busy. So
I'm busting his chops because I'm anxious to get that show out. We just published his hunt of that bear, on our YouTube channel, and it's getting a lot of positive feedback. So really excited about that. Going someplace like British Columbia, New Zealand, it's exciting. Mm-hmm. I mean, everybody, I only wish everyone can try something like that.
It's like I would hope that, for a lot of people, that's a destination spot, and it is for a good reason. It's incredible. That place is phenomenal.
But I'll say this, and I've said this before. I haven't been to New Zealand, but there are a lot of opportunities that are affordable, that are on that blue collar, that kind of average Joe kind of price tag, like going to Prince of Wales Island for spring bear is pretty exotic for a guy like from the lower 48, especially if you're from like Arizona, or going there to hunt Sitka blacktail. That's a pretty exotic trip, and it's got a lot of cool things with it. And I think I just talked to solo hunter Tim Burnett not too long ago. We have a podcast that we have some technical issues with that I'm trying to get cleaned up so I can publish it, on an odd-ad hunt that he went on with his brother, which is a cool podcast and a cool hunt that he did. And he did that right in Texas. That's not far from here. And you get to have sort of a sheep-type hunt. And there's a lot of, I think, alternative options that are within the budget to having a cool adventure.
I think, at least I don't know if everybody has the same mindset as me, but it was actually like, if you want to talk about setting some goals to put some money aside to do a hunt, New Zealand is probably more affordable than you actually think.
Yeah.
When I first was thinking of New Zealand, I was like, oh, that's probably like $75,000, like something ridiculous.
$50,000.
I mean, I'm not going to say that you couldn't make it that expensive of a trip.
Right,
you absolutely could. It is a target-rich environment, and everything has a price. But there are ways of doing it, and by doing research, like the cool thing about us going and doing it, like I feel confident, especially not necessarily hunting stags because that was done on the ranch, so that was kind of how that hunt has to be done in most places. But with a tahr, I feel very confident that we could go without a guide and go do a tahr all by ourselves.
If I will say this.
And Remy Warren has said the same thing.
Yeah. When we go back to New Zealand someday, like, and Casey and I have talked about this, we both had an incredible tahr hunt.
Yeah.
We both did it on separate days and different times, but we both came back. Casey came back. So I had gotten my stag, and Casey got his tahr, and he came back. And when he got back, he was super stoked for me, and I was super stoked for him. And he's like, dude, bro, he's like, I haven't got a stag yet, but I'll tell you right now, like, if we come back to New Zealand, I want to go freaking do that again. And I'm just thinking, dude, like, hunting this stag was freaking cool. Like, it was like chasing elk.
He's like, I want to go hunt tahr.
He wants to go hunt tahr.
See, I'm way more interested in hearing about the tahr hunt than I am the stag hunt, and just simply because of the epic places they live, the mountains, the altitude, the adventure of it is just on another level to me, opposed to the.
And that's why. So when I told him, I was like, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to experience it. So when I went and did my tahr hunt, I came back and I looked at Casey and I said, you know what, bro? If I hadn't done the stag with a bow and accomplished something for me, a first for something, and how great that was, I said, I would much rather go do tahr hunting every time I come to New Zealand than stag. once I experienced what he described to me, I had to go experience for myself. And Casey will tell you a little bit about his.
I heard it tastes awesome too.
Tar?
Mm-hmm.
So the tar that we shot,
I heard it was good.
Not so much because it's like
that's what Ranella and Remy say.
Sure, yeah.
So the nannies,
like whatever Ranelli puts
the
on
nannies, awesome. Rutting bull tar like we had, not so much.
Not so awesome.
I mean, it's good, but it's not like it's not a nanny. It's not like a cow elk, you know.
Right.
No, what was really cool is so Jordan and I were able to hunt together 2 days, but then really the rest of the time we didn't hunt together because we had to split it up because we were kind of in a time crunch because we were going to do stag hunts together, tar hunts together. So when we split, we actually had quite a bit of service, so we were able to communicate when we were stag hunting. Where we went tar hunting, it was 3 hours away, no service whatsoever. I mean, you are in Mordor,
nowhere land.
Yeah, and the pictures,
Lord of the Rings.
the pictures we have of the tar hunting are so much more epic than the stag because they live in such different environments. But
that's why people crave sheep hunting, and that's why they love.
Gave us,
I have
again going back to you creating your own experience for this. They gave us the option. They said, "Do you want to take a helicopter, and then we'll put you on the top of the mountain where these things are, and then you just go find one and you shoot one." And we're like, no, we want. But we said this before we saw the mountains that they live in. Just case in point, we're like, no, we don't want a helicopter. Like we
want to climb.
We want to climb this thing, and then, like Casey will describe, we get there and the vertical is.
I'm not lying when I say that your face is 15 inches from scraping across the ground the entire time as you climb. And it is so deceiving because you look at the mountains, and we have the Wasatch Front Mountains here where you look, and they're honestly very gradual mountains. It's not very hard to climb the elevation. It doesn't get too steep unless, in some areas it is.
Right.
It was so deceiving. We were sitting down in the basin, and we could see just different groups of tar at the tops. And you can tell which ones are the big bull tars because they've got these big lion manes that are just glowing in the sunlight.
Cool.
And
cool.
You can watch them walk around, and you're just seeing it just like shine, just like an elk in the summer when their coats are just like reflecting. And so the guide's like, okay, that one's, he's just kind of sizing them up from like 5 miles away.
Right.
This guy's name was Sam Manson, and I called him Samwise Gamgee, of course. And this guy, as we've deemed him, is the tar god.
Oh my gosh. So it's insane. So we're looking and we're like, yeah, I see a bunch of rocks. He's like, nope, that's a tar. And we're like, where? And he's like, right there. And so he's like giving you the general vicinity of where it is. And you're like, no, that's just a rock. And then all of a sudden it moves and you're like, holy crap, how did you see that? He is, I kid you not, we are 4 miles from this area that we went into for my stag, or for my tar. Yeah. And he's like, ooh, there's a good one right there. And I'm like, where? He's like, standing on that rock. I'm like, what rock? There's rocks everywhere. He's like, that rock. So we go and we get the spotting scope, and he puts it right on it, and it is like this. It's like probably what Mufasa looked like standing on Pride Rock. Like,
is this another Disney reference?
Hey, I get paid by Disney.
Lion
I gotta
King?
plug the crap out of them. Okay,
you guys watch a lot of Disney.
New Line Pictures loves me right now, and Disney's like, oh my gosh, we love this guy. Like,
bigger pockets with Disney.
Yeah, we've got Beauty and the Beast.
But no, so what it was is it was just this mane glowing in the sunlight. And what's crazy is the face that this the sun's really weird. It would like rise in the north and set in the south. Like, it wasn't an east and west thing that we were used to. It was very shallow, and it was like really weird. So these deep canyons wouldn't never see the sunlight.
Wow.
So this tar was standing on this outcropping in where he was just barely catching this sunlight, and I think that's how the Sam had seen him. It was just so irregular from what you should have seen. That you're watching this, and it was almost like, man, this is like watching a movie. It's all lit up in the sunlight, and he's just standing there all firm and proud. And Sam's sizing it up. He's like, I'm not sure how big that is, but that tar has the longest mane I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like, how long have you been hunting tar? He's like, since I was born. And he's like, what, 20?
You got to be joking me.
I'm not even kidding you. So I'm just thinking, oh, he's just this guy that's like, let's go.
This mane is huge and comes where mine came typically up to the neck and then stopped. Casey's goes all the way into his cheeks.
Almost to his eyes. The main starts right here.
So cool.
So
cool.
So we're looking at this tar, and so we go, and this is the first night that we get there. So we actually hike up to where we can get a better view at him from the other side of the canyon, because it's going to be a pretty good commitment to go after this guy. And we didn't have a lot of sunlight left, so we're like, we're going to have to go tomorrow, but let's just at least go get a better look at him. So when we get up there, get a better look at him, he's like, that tar needs to die. He's like, that thing is so amazing. He's like, it's going to be a good tar. I don't know how big it's going to be, but he's like, I've never seen something that beautiful, because they're just getting done with their rut.
Yeah.
And so what happens is their bodies usually will shrink up. Now, the discredit to my tar is his mane was long and his body was huge, which means
because he's a pansy.
He was a pansy. He didn't want to run.
Casey,
right.
Casey shot a pansy.
So, anyways, so we're just looking at him, and I'm like, dude, I didn't know what's the difference between him and anything else. But I'm like, yeah, that seems pretty cool. Well, so we put a game plan together of what we want to do the next day. We've got a river, this giant river that's dividing these two mountains, and we're on the opposite side. So he's like, let's go down. We'll sleep, and then we'll get up early and make our way up to this ridge, and we should, from this ridge, be able to look into that basin and see if he's there.
Yeah.
So that all sounds fun and easy until, like I said,
you try to do it,
literally
it's straight
is
up
straight
and
up.
down.
And it's also their winter, so it's 20 degrees, everything's frozen, so you're slipping everywhere. The ground, the way it works is the ground always stays solid and frozen, and the top about quarter to half inch will thaw, so you're sliding mud on frozen ground. So you are literally just slipping the whole way up. Well, where my tar was, it was in these, they call them shingle rocks or shingle or something. And so we get up in the shingle rock, and boom, he's like right there, like 500 yards away. And we're actually hunting with a rifle at this time. But we're looking at him, and he was with 4 other bull tars, so we just wanted to make sure that was the one. And Sam's like, that's him. Like, I know that's him. I've never seen one. So I'm like, are you sure, dude? Like, so we get up there, and I can't remember how far my shot was. I think it was 300 yards. And it was the most, we had all the time in the world, but we couldn't find a comfortable position to shoot. And so we kept moving all around, and this tar was just grazing there. And he gave us broadside for like 20 minutes as we're trying to find somewhere to just get comfortable to shoot. But we're sliding off this mountain as we're trying to just move around and be quiet.
Yeah.
So finally we get to a point where I'm kind of resting on a backpack with my gun, with my bipod. One bipod's on a rock, the other one's like kind of on the dirt. Like it's
it's a tough shot.
Okay,
Awkward.
A super awkward. I've got a bubble so I'm making sure that my rifle's at least somewhat level. Mm-hmm. And I get to the point where we're going to shoot, and I shoot 6 inches like underneath him. And so the thing just like runs off. And
these guys got 4-wheel drive. So what the guides tell you is these tar have 4 legs. They're 4-wheel drive. So when anything happens, because again, they're up at the top of the mountains, nobody goes up there but them. Yeah. So when they see or anything happens, they will just run and run and run and run. And so the guides tell you, if you're going to shoot these, you need to shoot them literally through the front shoulders to blow them up, to put them from 4-wheel into 2-wheel drive. Otherwise, they're going to just take off.
Yep. Now it's 4-wheel drive. You shoot them, they're running. Okay.
So the other
he takes off.
The other 4 pop up, and he wraps around the corner. So I've got a shot at like basically one at the exact same distance, broadside. That's like, what the heck just happened? And so I turn to Sam, and I'm like, do I take him? He's like, let me look at him. He looks at him. He's like, that's a good tar, but I'm not lying. That tar has got to die because I have never seen one. And he just what he just said. So I'm like, dude, maybe he's like
infatuated.
Maybe
he's in love with this tar.
He really
literally
is. So I'm like, okay, maybe he's not lying because he's telling me this one seems like a great tar, but he really wants this one to die. So he's like, look, don't shoot. Let's hike over there and go around the corner and see if he's there. Well, we hike and get over there. It takes us about a half an hour to get over there.
Yeah.
Dude, it's Tar City on the other side. I mean, we're now in an area that literally, and I'll tell you about an experience I have, none of these taurs have seen humans. I mean, when they normally take guys tahr hunting, they're not going into this spot. Guys just either physically can't do it or they don't want to do it because it sucks to get in there. It's not fun.
Yeah.
So we come around, and it is just tahr city. And I'm not lying. There was probably 30 tahr just all over the mountainside. So we're like, well, how do we find this one? And he's like, there he is. And when I finally saw that many tahr.
Yeah. You could see how yours stood out.
Oh, my gosh, dude. He literally looked like a lion walking around compared to the rest of them. They all looked like tahr. He looked like a lion. So we have some pretty incredible footage of me getting ready for that next shot. And him just walking around. It is incredible. Anyways,
pretty freaking cool tahr.
It is. So
that's cool.
I get ready. I get set up. It's like a 285-yard shot. So I'm like, okay, I'm pretty similar to what I did. I'm not going to screw this one up. So I'm aiming at the shoulder. So I shoot, and it hits him like low, like right in the chest. And I'm like, gosh dang, why is it? And so he's like, low, you hit him, but he's low. So I cog another one in, shoot it, hit him in the same spot. Low, you're hitting low. Well, what was happening was I was trying to guesstimate where his shoulder was. Because his mane was so long, there was no way of telling where that
There's no defined...
No, and it actually goes all the way to the middle of their body. So there was no...
Honestly, bear hunting is very similar because especially black bear, when it's thick and, you can't see defined lines. And some of the big ones with the bellies hanging down, and if there's brush, it's just like, where's the front leg? You can't see it. Where's the back leg? It's like you're having trouble finding the animal.
Yep.
And so Lander was like, dude, you got to aim center of center and then just slightly forward. Well, when you put it like that, it's like, oh, well, there's the middle of the bear and then forward. Center up, center down, middle, and then a little forward. Boom. Yeah. And you've got that shot. But if I hadn't really thought about it before then, I'm always, after hunting elk and deer so long.
Right behind the shoulder.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And on bear, I've been on a bow range for most of my bears. So, it's a little easier when you're that close, but still, same problem. Yeah. Same problem you're experiencing with this tahr.
Well, and so I'm hearing Sam say you're hitting low. So my second shot, my first shot basically went like right through the chest, but low. And then the second shot, I put it in the same spot. I couldn't hear him because I had headphones in, or headphones. Yeah, I was listening to music. No, I had some hearing protection.
Yeah.
So I hit him basically the exact same spot on the second shot, and then I heard him say, "You're hitting low." So I aimed higher the next time, and basically instead of putting it through the shoulder, I put it through both legs. So that when that hit, when you see it on video, that like really, like Jordan talked about, that really stopped him. Now it didn't necessarily hit in a part where it was probably vitals, but it definitely slowed him down. So you actually watch him kind of run, and he just
it's actually really cool footage because he just starts running. I mean, these animals are so cool. They're so tough. He's got 3 or 4 bullets in him at this point, and he's running, and you can tell Casey got him and is going to put him into 2-wheel drive because he just goes right headfirst into this rock, and just the ripple effect through his whole body.
You watch that mane just ripple all the way back through.
But right after he freaking hits this rock, he just gets up and starts running again.
So he goes around.
Like, are you kidding me?
So he goes around another corner, and so we're like, oh my gosh, like what in the world? So it takes us about 20 minutes to get down. We had to cross this little natural spring, which was beautiful. I wish we could have gotten some pictures or videos. Like, it was so cool. And we got
Sounds like it's just gorgeous.
It is. Everywhere you go, it's just like, am I really here?
It's
like,
paradise.
You can't look anywhere in New Zealand and go, oh, it's super ugly.
So we're all looking straight up the mountain, like trying to figure out where this guy was. And all of a sudden, Sam's like, there he is. And he was 40 yards off to our left, and he had gone and bedded down on basically the only flat spot on the entire mountain. And so the only shot I had was of his neck, so I just went up, took a net shot, and it put him right down. But
so that was how many shots?
So 3 in the chest, and then the one in the neck finally put him down.
I just want everybody to take note of that. So four shots.
I think Jordan did it with 1.
Jordan had a little bit different shot. than I did. But no, I was very proud of him. He did get it done in one.
No, it was cool because when Casey got his on the ground, and then all of a sudden, like, Casey got back into service because you get up to these places and there's no service. All of a sudden, I get a text where he sends me a picture and I see that he's gotten this freaking awesome Tahr. And so I know that, he's coming back, and I sent him a picture of the stag, and so we're both stoked. And he gets back.
What do you think about that when you saw that stag photo?
It was a mix of emotion because, like, going back to that elk hunt last year, like, I mean, we left our blood, sweat, and tears on
at
that
each
mountain.
other. Because we're brothers. Here's the thing. We're brothers. We had a moment where we're sitting at camp, and our poor brother-in-law, he's sitting there in camp with us, and Casey and I just start yelling at each other, and Casey's telling me what's wrong with me, and I'm telling him what's wrong with him, and then it comes down to, he's like, well, dude, I keep giving you these elk, and you keep screwing it up, and it's just like, and so... I think I know where he's kind of going with what he saw in my picture. He's just like,
and I was like, when we were going there, we were going to go kill him together. We were going to do it with our bows, and we were going to experience that together. Then we were going to go kill Tahr. Well, that didn't work out. So when I saw that picture, I was immediately like shocked at the size of it. And then I had a moment of it, like, pure excitement for Jordan, and then of sorrow that we weren't able to experience that together. But at the same time, I was then overwhelmed again with, like, dude, he finally did it. Like, all that crap we went through last year, all the stuff I experienced with him for the first 2 days, like, he did it, and it's a beautiful animal. And so I was just super stoked. But I knew, like, and the first thing I said to him, I was like, dude, I don't know how cool that experience was.
It's like,
it's not going to hold a candle to a Tahr.
I'm expecting Casey to come back and be like, dude, bro, oh gosh, I love you. Like, you did it, And he came back and he's like, dude, nice job, bro. That's awesome. Like, you finally stopped sucking at bow hunting. I'm so happy for you. Finally, there was hope in the air with that carbon, and that hope actually killed an animal, right? Yeah. Make sure you buy the Gritty Bowmen t-shirt, courtesy of Aaron Snyder. It says, when there's carbon in the air,
there's hope.
We're not talking about carbon emissions.
No, we're not. And also, don't take shots like I did. Just because you throw a shot at 70 yards when an animal's running doesn't mean that there's hope necessarily in the air. It's probably not a good shot. Don't take it. But Casey gets back, and it's like, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he's going to say. And he's like, dude, bro, like, I'm so happy for you. Congratulations. And I'm like, he's like, dude, this doesn't hold a candle to Tahr hunting. And so he tells me what he just told everyone, his amazing story and how uncool this is. And so I'm just playing this out. I'm just like, all right, well, I wonder how mine's going to be, So now we switch, and Casey goes after the stag, and then they send me off to Mordor to go chase Tahr. And, dude, my hunt, I can condense mine pretty well, but I will say exactly to what Casey said. We got there, and we're not there 5 minutes, and we've got this incredible mountain range that we're looking up. It's like 5 miles up to the top, and I'm just like, I'm like glassing. I can't find anything. I don't know what to look for. I'm like, oh, is that a Tahr? No, it's a rock, Jordan. And he's like, all of a sudden we're there like 5 minutes, and he's like, oh, I got a Tahr. Oh, I got a good one, Jordan. That's a good bull. I'm like, how do you freaking know that's a good bull like Casey's telling you? Yeah. And sure enough, he pulls up his spotter, puts it right on it, and all of a sudden you look through and you're like, wow, like there's a Tahr. How did you see that? Like, we're down here. Like, that's pretty incredible. Like, you do this a lot. Well, I look at him and I say, all right, so what's the game plan? And he's like, dude, Jordan, that's a really nice Tahr. He's like, we're going to hike straight up this mountain and go right after him. And I'm like, so,
all right, mountain ops ascent.
So, exactly. No, dude, I was like, all right, so like we just gonna go drop stuff off at the camp and then come back. He's like, let's go drop off the gear at camp. So, dude, we drop off gear, and I remember what Casey had told me about his hunt, how hard it was, how difficult the terrain was, the vertical, everything. Just so I took a enduro. I popped 2 blaze pills. And then as we're driving there, I mixed up a Yeti, and I put the Yeti down, and then we get to the base of the mountain, and we start hiking, and I shed down, like, Casey's like, make sure you're,
I said, don't wear anything
but a T-shirt, because you are just literally getting,
and mind you, it's 20 degrees.
And so, like, we start hiking, and I make another enduro, and literally 4.5 miles, I hiked up this vertical that just was straight up. And so,
how long did it take to cover?
I kept a pretty good pace. This guy we were with, Sam, thank goodness he hunted with these guys because they made him work pretty hard, and so it slowed him down. Otherwise, it would have took a lot longer. I kept a good pace, and it took to get to where we got to 4.5 miles. It was like 2.5 hours. So we actually made pretty good time.
Yeah.
So we hiked, and once we got to the spot, we had seen where he was. We knew where we needed to be, and we got set up. And we started looking. We found these other 2 bulls, and we realized they were younger. We didn't want to go after them. And I'm like, crap, where is this? He's like, well, let's go just like another 100 yards up or so. We'll get up to this clearing, or excuse me, we'll get up to this crest over the top, and we should be able to see all of this white caps. We should be able to see everything. Sure enough, right as we get up there he is 500 yards away. And we can see him. I can see him through the glass, and he's just got a really beautiful mane. Not as cool as Casey. Casey's is freaking awesome. You guys should go look him out. Go to Casey's Facebook page or Instagram. Like, it's a cool tar.
Yeah.
Mine's a really cool tar as well. And we see him, and Sam's like, dude, there he is. And I just start getting that. I'm just so excited. I've got the gun. We get set up. And, again, everything's playing through my mind that Casey's told me. I'm looking back at what we just hiked to get here. I can't believe we just did that. And now here's your opportunity. And he looks at me and he's like, all right, let's just be patient. They're going to feed. I think they're feeding in to us, so they might close that gap. And he looks at me and he says, Casey and I shoot Christensen arms is the rifles that we use. And we actually shot out to 1,100 yards here in Utah just practicing, and we were hitting it like no problem. So he asked me, but we were using an app and a whole bunch of data that you put that all in and then you place your shot. So he looks at me, he's like, dude, what are you comfortable out to? And I'm like, well, I can shoot out to 1,100 yards with this thing, but I don't have my app or have any of the stuff that Casey has, so we're probably looking at a comfortable 200 to 300 yard shot. I think I'm going to be okay with that. He's like, well, they're going to feed in, so I think we're going to be good. So sure enough, this bull feeds in to 300 yards and comes even closer, right to 200, and he ends up going behind this bush and pops out, and it's just perfect. The rest of his body's cut off, but all it's seen is shoulder. And all I'm playing in my mind is, these things got 4-wheel drive, and he's just going to run. So, just like Casey's, this is going to take. And the whole way up, he's like, Jordan, just get ready. 90% of the time, you got to, do this. And so I set the shot up. I got set. And because, like Casey was saying, it was so awkward, I was showing everybody the video of me trying to get set up for this thing. I didn't know where I took the shot because it's literally like 3 minutes of me going, okay.
That's pretty bad.
Yeah, and then I'm looking back, and I'm like, it's that one, right? I was like, yeah, it's that one. I'm like, okay.
You're stalling.
Oh, dude, I'm like, dude, it's so bad because it's trying to get set up. I finally get set up on the shot, and I get everything set up, and I'm like, where should I put this? He's like, it's 200 yards. He's like, put it right on the shoulder. And so I put it right on the shoulder, ice in the veins, set up, boom, punch it. Low. You hit low a lot. And I'm like, low? He's like, yeah. So I'm like, put another one in the chamber. I'm like, what the heck? Are you serious? So I pull up, and I see him running, and he's running dead sprint. So I pull up, and I get set on him. He stops on this rock, and I get set up, and I got the crosshairs right on his chest. And right as I get the crosshairs on his chest, he tips over and dies. He tips over, and all of a sudden, Sam goes, oh, he's dead. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? And he couldn't believe it. He was like, dude, that's the first time this season that's happened. He's like, I haven't seen anybody shoot this with one shot. These guys take multiple shots. That's typical. You anticipate that. Yeah. So I just was fortunate to have a really good shot where he ran maybe 30 yards from where I shot him, stopped, held up, and then he tipped right over. And so we had to hike up to go get him. And what was really cool is Tahr, the world record Tahr, I believe, is somewhere around 15 and a half inches or so, or maybe 16 inches. And Casey's and mine's Tahr were both actually 13 and a quarter. Wow. So just absolute toads.
That's awesome, guys.
So it was an incredible experience. New Zealand was awesome from every aspect that you can think it, from the people that live there, the New Zealanders. They're incredibly hilarious. They're awesome. I learned that from the 10 that I got to know, 1 out of the 10 liked Lord of the Rings, which I thought was super weird. I was like, isn't that a citizen
New Zealand requirement?
Isn't it required every citizen has to watch the extended versions and like it? They're like, no, mate, those are the most boring movies I've ever seen. Never watch them again. It's like watching paint dry. If I want to watch paint dry, I go paint my shed. It's like, but they're great people. Cadrona Safaris, they were an incredible outfit. Appreciated them so much for letting Casey and I come and have that hunt. And going back to like what you said, Brian, again, everyone, I think, it's hard when you're looking on the outside and you're not there. You're not in BC. You're not in New Zealand, and the guys that are like the purists, like all this. Yeah. It's like I had what you described, Brian, as a hunt that I felt was just like hunting at home.
Yeah.
Hunting with friends, hunting with good guys. The guys we hunted with, all of them are so cool, so awesome. And the experiences we had, we chose. And one of the things that I thought was also cool, kind of whether you think it's cool or not, but, every animal that we took, we packed out. So that was weird for our guides. Our guides, when we got our Tahr, like they immediately jump in, they start, quartering it and doing everything. And immediately we're like, all right, let's put this in the backpack or let's strap this up and let's get out of here. And they would look at us and they'd be like, no, I'll do that for you. And we're like, no, like, heck, you're going to take my stag out. Like, heck, you're going to take my Tahr down the mountain. Like, I freaking hiked to this thing. I'm going to take it down myself. And that was kind of cool because, again, going back to what kind of experience did we want to have? Did we want to have where we show up and, they do everything and, not saying that that's bad. Again,
right.
They bought an animal or whatever.
You're basically everybody. You're after your own experience. You're making your own experience.
We wanted to make it. We didn't want to make it easy. We wanted to make it hard. And I think creating that difficulty and doing that made it so much more rewarding. And it was an incredible experience. So I encourage everyone. If you have those destination spots, if you want to go to Africa, if you want to go to Turkey, if you want to go to Istanbul, if you want to go to, BC or Prince of Wales or wherever you want to go, like you said, Brian, it's not out of reach, and it's not hunting. I don't even know how to say that. It is hunting. It's a different kind of hunt, but if you go into it with the right attitude and you create an experience for yourself that you want, I think you'll come out of it very. You'll feel very accomplished.
I think at the heart of all this, though, you're dealing with people of various means. You have people with a lot of money, a lot, like insane, stupid amounts of money.
They have money trees in their yard.
And then you have people that have no money.
Yeah.
And so because of these, that whole spectrum, you're going to have people who can afford different experiences in life. Right. And based on sacrifices, like Aaron, he lives in a condo and he drives a Subaru. So he has the money he needs to go and experience other things that he'd rather put that money to. He could drive a giant truck and he could have a big house, but he'd rather live a different lifestyle. Everybody makes sacrifices. Everybody makes choices in how they want to spend their money and their time. I think that what I would like to see more of is hunters respect all hunters, regardless of how they spend their money. And how they value their money. One thing that happened that I know, like with you guys, this isn't an issue, but you'll see this with some hunters where they're like, "Yeah, man, I'm the best hunter in the world because I've got 10 of the biggest in the world." Well, you're the best at buying the biggest animals in the world. It's a different thing, right? And so. I think it's when you start introducing pride and bragging and things like that where it can really alienate people from that experience or really be
maybe it gives it a black eye.
Yeah,
right? Maybe
completely. That's a good way of putting it.
People look at those experiences and they meet certain people that can afford those experiences and they tout those experiences like, look what I've got.
As an accomplishment.
As like an accomplishment. Like, look at, you've hunted for how many years and look how many animals you have, And it's the same thing. Like, it's sad when people go that way, negativity or belittling or demeaning something because, that's taking away from that's taking away from the real reason why we do what we do. It's taking away from the sport.
It's similar when someone buys a governor's tag or something, and it's like they auction those things off and spend $500,000 on a tag, and then they're hated for it, And it's sad because, man, it's one tag in the state, right? Which then all those dollars come into and get used so wisely. It's a good use of that resource.
Yep.
To do that. And so someone who has the money to do that, I don't begrudge them that choice to spend the money.
That's their choice, right? And they have the means by which they can do that.
And on the other side, I don't feel jealousy. Look at what we as, maybe the blue collar or the financially challenged, look at what we have in front of us, all the public lands, all these other opportunities that are there. And again, it always for me comes back to experience. It's not about the size of the animal; it's about the experience.
Well,
and you can have a phenomenal experience chasing a raghorn bull. Well, that's just how it is for me. I can have a killer experience climbing in the backcountry in the middle of nowhere, shooting an animal, cutting it up, eating it out there, packing it back, eating it for the rest of the year. It's an amazing experience.
It is, and you always talk about score's not everything, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, we literally were not judging my Tahr by the size of its horns.
Yeah,
we were judging it by the characteristics,
the beauty of the animal.
When I go and do a shoulder mount of that now, like I'm going to be able to be like really excited that was the characteristic that I was able to bring home. I got a bonus that it was a 13.25 inch Tahr, but that's not what we were going for,
right?
And that was my experience. There is honestly every stag we saw, we were just like, that's huge. But we
were like, oh my gosh.
But but we never. We never went to there saying we have to kill 420 inches or bigger.
Dude, yeah. They kept asking us. They're like, what? I remember one time they asked me, like, so Jordan, what if you decided what size of stag you want? I'm like, you get to choose. I'm like, is this Burger King or McDonald's? Like, supersize me. I'll take the biggest one. I'm like, no. I'm like, dude, I got a bow. Like, I'll take
a number 7 with curly fries, please.
Yeah, can I take a number 7 point with some curls on it? Yeah, it's like I'll take whatever I can with my bow. Like, I told him, I was like, I'm like, I'll shoot the smallest thing there is. I don't care. And I had somebody ask me when I actually just had somebody today ask me. They said, that is so cool, that hunt. I was following along. We were actually posting it on our Snapchat account, and just so people could kind of see behind the scenes and kind of get a feel for what New Zealand's like and all the hunting. And we got a really good response on that. And you need to get on Snapchat.
I know, I do.
Yeah.
I do.
You got on Instagram. Fun. Your Instagram's doing good.
I do video.
Nice job. Make sure everybody, if you're on the Gritty Bowmen right now, you're probably on his website listening to this or iTunes or something. Make sure you go to the Instagram.
I got the name Gritty Bowmen on Snapchat like 8 months ago.
Oh, good. You secured that.
Yeah.
Wise move.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Make sure you check them out on Facebook. They're there too. And YouTube. You can actually watch us instead of just listen to us. You can watch this.
Thanks,
in person,
guys.
Dude, I'm just trying to plug for you, man. I know every once in a while you'll say good things about
that's
Mountain
not very
Ops.
good for you to plug. We'll plug you.
Yeah.
Thank
what
we
the
will
guy
expect
was
payment.
What the guy was saying is he said to me, he said, Jordan, that looked awesome. He said, so do you feel like that, like, are you excited about elk, or do you feel like you hit a pinnacle with that? Like, is that it? And I'm like, I said, no, and nothing to take away from the stag or that experience, but I am actually still in pursuit of what I've always been in pursuit of, which is a mature Rocky Mountain elk with a bow. That is still my dream, will always be. And so and after that experience, I am so excited to go on some public land and go and do what you just said, which is go hike back in, go hunt hard, go have lots of failures until that success comes. Like, I still am New Zealand was incredible and it was awesome, but I can't wait. I'm here in Utah, like Mecca for elk. Like, I can't wait to go hunt elk this year.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Yeah, like when that happens, like I think I'll probably. I said to him, I freaked out. I was so excited when I shot that stag for everyone to come together. But I'll tell you, I'm probably gonna cry when I shoot that elk because that's still coming. Yeah. I'm working towards that.
The thing with guides and high fence and going and hunting in places like New Zealand and South Africa and such, is it really should hammer home to all of us hunters here in the U.S. how important our public lands are, and that whole pay-to-play model would seriously eliminate so many of the environmental, the outdoors community, the hunting community that's really supporting wildlife.
It's absolutely
the
squandered.
bulk of it would just kill it.
Absolutely.
And all you would have is the wealthy who can go and do it.
I think that
that'd be a scary, scary thing.
Yeah, I think that there is a place for that. I think that there are places for that. But I do not believe and will never believe that that is a good model that should be for everyone. Even if the land or opportunity, they cut the price more than half. Public land.
The thing is, you can't go back.
You can once you move that way, the needle doesn't move back.
It would be so cool
if
New Zealand and South Africa and such had the model like
we have, where it's all public.
And there are places in New Zealand.
There's quite a bit of public
in the South
land.
Island. There's a lot of public land.
And actually, because there's no predators, they don't limit the amount of tags that residents have. But in order for a resident, like one of the things that the guide said to us was, he's like, "Oh my gosh, this is a 13.25-inch tahr," and I'm like, "Is that big?" Like I didn't know. And he's like, "Less than 10% of residents will ever shoot a tahr this big." And the reason why we were actually hunting on public land, but we were able to access it through landlocked private.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of it is. So you got a helicopter in. You got to do all these different ways to be able to get, or hike like we did to get into it. But, so there is opportunities. But what I like and what I've seen just in the, over the past few years is it seems like the quality of the maturity of the animals, mainly mule deer and elk that I've seen, it seems to be enhancing very rapidly. And I don't know if that is because of conservation and what we're doing and keeping the lands public, but it's like, for us to be able to go and shoot a 200-inch mule deer, that's possible on public land, especially here in Utah. I mean, we're probably within 1 mile from where we're
Colorado.
sitting of a 200-inch buck.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's like
that's pretty cool.
That's way cool.
The herds, the health of the herds, other than the ones decimated by the introduction of wolves, and with the.
There was a little bitterness in that.
Yeah, I felt like
he brought that comment out.
Like, just so everybody knows, like, all the herds are doing good except for the ones who didn't kill it.
I'm just saying, and grizzlies. I mean, if we, it's time. They're not endangered anymore. Let's grow up and get past that, and stop having all the. Ungulates get eaten by other animals.
Do you know why?
There's a lot of two-legged predators like me who like to eat them too.
Right. Do you know why I think a lot of anti or mainstream or outside of our industry? Do you know why I think a lot of people don't like seeing like bears killed?
Why?
Because how many of us in this room had like a teddy bear growing up? How many of you watched the
I didn't. I was too manly for that.
Bears. You're like, bull crap, dude. You had a teddy bear. At some point, whether you held on to it or not.
My first grade teacher, Mrs. House, when I got really sick one time and I was in the hospital, she brought me a giant koala bear.
So, Jordan, what you're saying is people are crazy because of the teddy bear thing.
I'm just saying that they resort to that child memory of like this animal that's so cute and cuddly, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like this big and it's so...
Dude.
And then when that animal is full grown, like big...
Yeah, but if you see
wants
a real bear
to kill
in real life,
you,
that disconnects there all of a sudden.
It's like
But
that's
I'll say
my theory.
there are some
whether it's true or not, I have nothing to sustain.
like Rogan says, I think cities make people weird. So,
isn't that like the Oregon thing?
Keep Portland weird.
Keep Portland weird. Yeah, for sure.
Portland's not weird anymore. They're trying hard, but it's not weird.
So I think if you one thing that Shane Mahoney brought up on a recent podcast with Randy Newberg, which I love both. I can listen to both those guys all day. And he's talking, and Shane Mahoney brings up this point where every year the grizzly bear hunts in British Columbia are a huge drama fest, right? Like all these protests and people don't want to see the grizzlies hunted up there, right? But every year they kill, thousands and thousands of black bears before the season starts, and nobody says a word.
It's just the grizzlies.
They're both bears.
Yep.
Right? So why all of a sudden is this big deal? It's like blinders for the black ones, but they're like defensive over the brown ones. It
sounds racist.
Well,
to me.
I don't know that's racist, but I think that there were more teddy bears with the shade of brown
and the shaggy hair
than there were.
You're basically, it's all tied back to the childhood teddy bear.
Dude, I'm telling you, man. You think about it, because at the end of the day, I always say this to people when I start reading these comments.
This is getting deep here.
You shot this bear, you're a terrible person. And then okay, so animal life so we care about animals, but you want me to die. Okay, so that makes sense. But I think that it stems from that, they're like, you shot my teddy bear, kind of thing. It's just, there's such a disconnect from the weird things that people think or believe
for sure,
from what actual reality is and what those bears actually do to even their own, when you start looking at certain species of them. It's pretty interesting. It's pretty interesting.
Well, it's all interesting. This was a good talk. It's pretty late. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like on my last.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Everybody,
my left eye keeps closing.
Anybody,
my right eye.
I was gonna say, anybody who's watching this on YouTube, I want you to rewind it back and just pay close attention to Brian the whole time, because watching him the whole time do this.
No, I was engaged.
Sure, yeah, dude.
My eyes are just.
As soon as a question opportunity was, it's like, dude, it's just like a natural reaction for you. Like when there was a little bit of a break, again. So, tell me more about this.
Consummate professional,
dude. You're good, man. You're good for a reason. That's why everybody loves your show. No, this was a lot of fun, man. We did have a lot of fun. In fact, we'll do another podcast so we can dive into some other things that we have going on at Mountain Ops. Some updates on.
It's a good weekend. We're up here at the Total Archery Challenge, so I'm gonna interview a few other people that I have on the list, and then
we getting Sean on here.
DeGray? What we should probably do is another freaking late night, since that was
we
one
could
of the
Skype Aaron in, dude.
Yeah. Snowbird after midnight.
No, and for Snowbird after midnight. For everyone that's watching, here's my plug for Sean. We are up here at the Cliff Lodge at Snowbird Resort, ski and snowboarding resort here in Utah. And it's the Total Archery Challenge that we're going to go shoot tomorrow.
Yep.
And then we're going to shoot it on Saturday as well. And then we're going to go shoot it again in Big Sky, Montana.
Yes. It's like 2:30 in the morning, so we need to wrap this baby up.
we're gonna do this thing. So thanks for having us on. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Hope you guys enjoyed it.
Same to you guys. Stay gritty.
Yeah, you do the same.
Don't be dead weight.
Okay, gritty friends. I hope you enjoyed that podcast. If you did, please take a moment to leave us a review on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher. We love reading your reviews. And connect with us on social media if you're on there. Look us up on Facebook and Instagram, and take a moment to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can receive notifications when we upload new videos. We've got a sweet deal with Mountain Ops. You get 20% off on all Mountain Ops supplements, combo packs, and apparel when you type in the word gritty at checkout. All right, friends, let me leave you with one other quote from Theodore Roosevelt, who said, "It behooves every man to remember that the work of the critic is of altogether secondary importance, and that, in the end, progress is accomplished by the man who does things." We all have a choice. We can be people who do things or people who criticize the work of others. It's pretty simple, really. Get out there and do your thing. Good luck on your hunts, and stay gritty.
This is Ty Stubblefield, and you're listening to the Gritty Bowmen.